Welcome to MathMania Academy. In the previous video, we have discussed few problems from June 2015 linear algebra that were asked in part C. In this lecture, we are going to continue with the discussion on the problems of linear algebra. Okay, the first problem that we are going to discuss now is we are given four subsets of R3 of R. Okay, it is not specified R3 of R, it is simply given R3. We consider it over R. Okay, we are given four different sets of R3 over R, and we'll have to examine whether they are subspaces or not. Basically, a subspace W is a subspace of V if for any two elements in W, alpha U1 plus beta U2 is also a member of W for all alpha and beta in the overfield. Okay, so if we are talking about a vector space, then of course it must have a field associated with it. Over the same field, we are going to talk the subset of this vector space as a subspace if this condition is satisfied. Okay, here we'll consider two arbitrary entries from the set. Okay, in all the four cases, we'll have to examine this value. So this is alpha times of x1 plus beta x2, alpha y1 plus beta y2, and alpha z1 plus beta z2. Okay, if we take this is a member of the collection xyz such that x plus y equals 0, then what happens? That is the first thing. Okay, if it is so, then what happens? x1 plus y1 is 0. Similarly, x2 plus y2 is also 0. In order to prove this is the member of this set, we will have to check whether the addition of first two entries is 0. We will check it out. Alpha x1 plus beta x2 plus alpha y1 plus beta y2. This is simply alpha times of x1 plus y1 plus beta times of x2 plus y2. x1 plus y1 is 0. Similarly, x2 plus y2 is 0. Therefore, this is alpha times of 0 plus beta times of 0. Irrespective of what alpha and beta you choose, we are getting the value to be equal to 0. Hence, option 1 is true. Okay. In the second option, what is given? The set considered is the collection of x, y, z such that x minus y is 0. So from this, what we get? x1 minus y1 is 0 and x2 minus y2 is 0. So here, the difference of first and second has to be equal to 0. This is what we will have to examine. So that is alpha times alpha x1 plus beta x2 minus of alpha y1 plus beta y2. This is alpha times of x1 minus y1 plus beta times of x2 minus y2. This is again 0. Just because of this. Okay. In the third and fourth, you can very well check instead of it to be equal to 0, we have 1. So if we have 1, what happens here? Alpha of 1 plus beta of 1. Alpha of 1 plus beta of 1, which need not be equal to 1 always. So option 3 is false. It is not true. Okay. Similarly, here also, what would you get? In the fourth option, we have x minus y equals 1. So it is also alpha of 1 plus beta of 1, which is not equal to 1 always. So option 3 and 4 are not subspaces. Okay. Here, instead of working out all these things, the shortcut idea, just by simply looking at it, we can reject these cannot be the subspaces. That is linear homogeneous restriction. Okay. Here, in all the four options, we have linear restriction, but in option 3 and 4 we have a non-homogeneous restriction. If we have a linear homogeneous restriction, that has a chance of being a vector space. If the restriction imposed is not linear homogeneous one. If it is either non-linear or non-homogeneous, you can very well decide that that is not a subspace. Okay, that is the basic ideology. And now coming to the next problem, we have a n by n complex matrix which satisfies a to the power k is identity. Okay, and k is some positive integer which is greater than or equals 1, and 1 is not an eigenvalue. Okay, so one more thing is given, 1 is not an eigenvalue of a. Then we have 4 options. We will have to check which of them are necessarily true. Okay, first consider a polynomial p of x which is x power k minus 1. What is it? Actually, this one annihilates the matrix A. Okay, if it annihilates A, and if you consider a minimal polynomial which has to divide this p of x, this p of x can be written as x minus 1 product with 1 plus x squared etc. till x to the power k minus 1. Since 1 is not an eigenvalue of a, then your minimal polynomial will divide this one. This cannot divide this one. Okay, so minimal polynomial of a divides this thing, 1 plus x squared till x to the power k minus 1. Irrespective of what the value this k has, just go back to the given information, that is this matrix A is taken from the complex. Okay, so it is a complex n by n matrix, which means A is a matrix which is defined from Cn to Cn. Okay, so this is a polynomial of order k minus 1 in the complex space. Therefore, this has k minus 1 distinct roots, where distinct roots in C. Okay, if it has k minus 1 distinct roots, of course this can be written as a product of k minus 1 linear factors. In this case, your minimal polynomial is a product of linear factors. Whenever the minimal polynomial is a product of linear factors, this tells us that the matrix A is diagonalizable, and that is the first option. Okay, so and hence the matrix A is diagonalizable. Okay, since this can be treated as the minimal polynomial, of course this also annihilates the given matrix A. So we have 1 plus a squared etc. till a to the power k minus 1 is 0, from which what we deduce is a plus a squared etc. till a to the power k minus 1 is minus identity. Okay, in the option 2 it is given that the sum is equal to the 0 matrix, which is not true. And in the third option we are talking about the trace of these things. Just take a trace here. Trace of this matrix is equal to the minus trace of identity. Since trace is a linear operator, I am able to take this minus outside, and here this can be bracket, that is trace of a plus trace of a squared till trace of a to the power k minus 1, which is equal to, what is trace of identity matrix? That is the order of a matrix, that is n. So this is the third option, and that is turning to be right. Okay, now we have this expression, right? Now multiply a to the power minus k minus 1 with this. What will we get? Simply a to the power minus k minus 1 plus a to the power minus k minus 2 till a to the power minus 2 plus a to the power minus 1, and when you multiply with this, you would get plus identity equals 0. Okay, and that option tells us what? You just take this plus identity to the next side, then what would you get? You would get minus identity. This is the fourth option, and that is right. So in this question, option 1, 3 and 4 are the right options. In the next problem, it is given that U is a real n by 1 vector. So U is a real n by 1 vector means it is some vector of this form. Okay, and U prime, we know that is the transpose of this one, that is U1, U2, etc. till Un. And when you make this thing, so you have to multiply this one with this one. This gives you U1 square, U2 square, etc. till Un square, which is nothing but the norm of the vector U, okay, which is equal to 1. This is given in the question, right? And we are defining the matrix A to be equal to identity minus 2U prime. And we know that I is the identity matrix of order n and all those stuff, with which we will have to examine which of the following statements are true, right? So for which, first of all, let us calculate what is the matrix, this U prime. Okay, let us call that matrix as B, that is U prime. So you have to multiply this with this one. So what are you going to get? U1 square, U1 U2, etc. till U1 Un, then U2 U1, U2 square, etc. till U2 Un. So Un U1, Un U2 till Un square. So this is the matrix B. And if you see the trace of this matrix B, that is U1 square, U2 square, etc. till Un square, which sums up to 1. And let us check the rank of this matrix B, which is smaller than or equals minimum of rank of U, comma rank of Q prime. Just because this B is the product of these two vectors, they can be treated as a matrix, which is nothing but 1. So which tells us that rank of B is smaller than or equals 1, but the trace sums up to 1. Okay, so it means it has at least one non-zero entry, and that makes the rank equals 1. Okay, this is what we have now. And what is the nullity of B? Now you can treat this B as a mapping from Rn to Rn, since this is a n by n matrix and the rank is 1, therefore the nullity has to be n minus 1. Basically, by the definition of a nullity, this is the number of linearly independent eigenvectors corresponding to lambda is equal to 0. Okay, the nullity can happen only when the nullity is non-zero only when 0 is an eigenvalue, and to corresponding to that eigenvalue 0, the number of linearly independent vectors decides that count is the nullity. Okay, so which means the characteristic polynomial of this B is x to the power n minus 1 multiplied with x minus 1. How do we get this, since the trace value is equal to 1? Okay, now coming to the matrix A. Okay, if you have to calculate the eigenvalues of A, this matrix identity will have 1 as the eigenvalues, and that is repeated n times. Okay, and the matrix, this is twice this one. Okay, so for that 1, 2 times of 0, 1 minus 2 times of 0, and this is there for n minus 1 times, and then 1 minus 2 times of 1. So this is there for how many times? N times. So finally 1 1 till n minus 1 times, and minus 1 only once. So these are the eigenvalues of A. If these are the eigenvalues of A, then what is trace of A? Trace of A is n minus 1 times of 1 plus 1 time of minus 1, that sums up to n minus 2. Okay, no value here is 0. Therefore, determinant of A, if you just make a multiplication of all these things, this is minus 1 and that is not equal to 0, which means the matrix A is non-singular. Okay, in the first option, it is given that A is a singular matrix, that is wrong. And in the fourth option, in the third option, the trace of A is given to be n minus 2 and that is true. The second and fourth option deals with the value of A square, that we can simply calculate from here. A square is I minus 2 prime product with I minus 2 prime. So this is identity minus 2 prime, again minus 2 prime plus 4 times of u prime u. This value is equal to 1. So this becomes identity minus 2 prime minus 2 prime plus 4 times of u prime. All these terms gets cancelled, the value is I. A square is I, hence option 4 is right and option 2 is wrong. Now moving to the next question, A is given to be an invertible 4 by 4 matrix. Okay, which of the following are not true? So whenever we get questions of this sort, we just look at the invertible 4 by 4 matrices and we look for the right options and make a tick mark. Okay, in a hurry we all may do it, but we have to go through the question carefully, and in this question they have asked the statements which are not true. Okay, we have a invertible 4 by 4 matrix, okay, which is real. Let us call this to be the matrix A. Okay, so in this case, if it is invertible, which means determinant is non-zero. If the determinant is non-zero, then the rank of that matrix is 4. If the rank of that matrix is 4, then the nullity of this matrix is 0. Okay, so with which, what can we conclude? Rank is 4, that is option 1, that is a right option, but according to this question that is not considered to be the right, because we are looking for the not true kind of statements. Okay, and in the second option it is given that for every B in R4, the system AX equals B has a solution. When does this system have a solution? This will have a solution if and only if rank of AB is same as that of rank of A. Here rank of A is 4. What is rank of AB? Basically this AB is a matrix of order 4 by 5. Okay, it has 4 rows and 5 columns. So the maximum rank of this matrix can be 4. For that we will have to identify either 4 linearly independent column or 4 linearly independent rows. Okay, before adding this B to the matrix A, we have 4 independent columns. That very well tells us that the rank of AB is also 4. So this is being satisfied, hence this is a true statement, hence it cannot be the answer to this question. In the third statement it is given that dimension of null space of A. Okay, what is the dimension of null space? That is the nullity, right? So which is the nullity of A, which is given to be greater than or equal to 1, but that is 0. So that is the right option. This is basically wrong, that is not true, hence it is the right answer to the question. Okay, in the fourth option it is given that 0 is an eigenvalue. If 0 is an eigenvalue, then determinant will be 0. Okay, if 0 is at least there only once, then the determinant becomes 0, hence the rank cannot be equal to 4. Hence the matrix cannot be invertible basically. So 0 is an eigenvalue is a wrong statement, and according to the question that is the right option. Okay, so coming to the next question, we have defined Pn of x is to be x to the power n, and this x can be any real value, and the script p is given to be the span of p0 p1, and it goes. Okay, first let us verify whether this is a linearly independent set or not, for which let me consider this way. If I equate this to 0, what is basically this p0 p1 and all? That is x power 0 1, alpha 1x plus alpha to x square, alpha n x to the power n, and it is equal to 0. This tells us that alpha j is 0 for j running from like j equals 0, 1, 2, etc. So basically it is a linearly independent set, and that is option 3. Okay, and yeah, so we'll have to check with this, can we write any real valued continuous function as a linear combination of these things? Let me give you an example. Basically you will have to look for an example which is continuous but not differentiable, because you may think that any if you are able to produce a Taylor series expansion to any particular function, there every function is a polynomial, it is taking some polynomial form, right? You may think that way, but that is possible only when the function is analytic. Okay, the concept of analyticity is needed. So that is why, let me give you an example. F of x, which is e to the power 1 upon x when x squared when x is 0, x is non-zero, and 0 when x is 0. This will not have an analytic, this will not have a Taylor series expansion around 0. This is basically a continuous function but not differentiable, hence it cannot be written in this form. So the statement 1 claims that all the real valued continuous functions can be written as a linear combination of these elements. That cannot be possible. We have produced one such example, right? Hence it cannot be a vector space, but it can be a subspace. That is option 2. So option 2 is right and option 3 is right. In the option 4, it is said that trigonometric functions belong to this set, which is not possible. You may think that the sine and cosine, all this stuff have a Taylor series expansion. Yes, of course they do have, but it is a non-terminating one. Okay, so because of the non-terminating nature and basically that sine of something, so there you can define sine of 1 upon x, that is also a trigonometric function, but that fails to be differentiable at the point 0, hence it cannot have a Taylor series expansion. All such things are there in it. Just by simply looking at sine and cosine, you cannot come to any conclusion. You may think of sine 1 upon x or cosine 1 upon x. This will give you an idea to think whether trigonometric functions belong to this set or not. Okay, basically trigonometric function need not belong, all the trigonometric function need not belong to this set. So option 2 and 3 are the right options. Thank you.